Good evening, everyone in the US, and good morning to everyone over there in Japan. On behalf of US JETAA, welcome. We are so glad you can join us for part one of our Horizon series, and part one is called Making Japan Home After JET. My name is Jessica Livingston. I was a JET ALT in Hokkaido from 2003 to 2006. And I now serve as Executive Director of US JETAA. US JETAA is the United States-Japan Exchange and Teaching Program Alumni Association. We're a US-based nonprofit, and we're dedicated to helping all of our JETs and our JET alumni really continue to serve the US-Japan relationship through personal and professional pathways. And we also like to keep everybody socially connected through the alumni community because no one understands a JET quite like another JET, I think. I want to offer a sincere thank you to the JETAA Tokyo team for partnering with us on this event. It's been a real pleasure to collaborate with them. And we've heard from so many people over the years who wanted a series like this, so I'm really happy that we're able to finally host it in partnership with JETAA Tokyo and really draw on the strength of our deep alumni network spanning both countries for, the peer mentorship, the advice, and really like the honest reflection that I think we're going to get out of today's discussion. I think for a lot of people, the idea of making Japan home after JET is really exciting, but it can also come with a lot of questions and probably at least a little bit of anxiety. So tonight's conversation is really meant to help make that path kind of feel a little more visible and hopefully also a little more approachable. We're really fortunate to have some very knowledgeable JET alums who have been there and done that. So they're with us and they're going to share their experiences, their insight, and I really want to thank them for taking the time this morning to be with us. For all of our online folks, if you have questions for the speakers, please put them in the chat. There is someone from JETAA Tokyo who's going to be monitoring the chat, and they'll either pick them up along the way and sort of just, throw them out to the speakers, or they'll hold them all and pose them to the speakers at the end. We're going to do our very best to answer as many questions as we have time for, but I can't promise we'll answer all of them. I never know how many questions everyone's going to have. So thank you all for being here. I am going to hand it over to Chris and all of the live people there in Tokyo.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you everyone for being here. We have about 12 people here in Tokyo, and we're at the Flux office in Roppongi Midtown. Thank you to our panelists here to speak. I think I speak for everyone. We think that JET is all about giving back. We've all graduated the program, and giving back is so important because for me personally, JET has given me so much. So that's what I'm most passionate about, is to help. If you're on JET now, or if you've already finished JET and you want to start your life here, the most important thing is that we help each other in this community. That being said, I'm going to have my phone here to look at the chat. So if you have any questions, I'll go ahead and fire through. And if I can find a place to put them in, if not, we'll add the question at the very end. And thank you, Jessica and US JETAA for supporting this event as well. That being said, let's go ahead and begin with our Jiko Shokai. I'm going to start, and I'm going to pass it on to Teresa and then Jacqui to treat. And we're just going to talk about where we were on JET, how many years, and where we are now, and maybe what we're doing. So those are the things we're going to touch base on. So my name is Chris. I was on JET as an ALT in Kagoshima in 2014 to 2018. I live in Tokyo now, and I work for Lululemon. It's a fashion brand, if you're familiar with. Yeah, that's my current setup now.
So I think they still can't hear anything. Is there a way to change the mic?
Let me do one admin thing.
They can't hear anything at all?
We can hear, but the sound is it's quiet on our end. And I think that might just be distance from the mic to the stage.
I'm going to switch to the other mic. Yeah. Let me know how this goes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Go ahead and let me know if I'm speaking any louder. Is that better for your crowd?
That's way better for me. Can everybody else, is it better for you guys too? Give me a thumbs up on your chat if it's working well.
Much better. Much better? Okay. We'll be sure to speak up as well. That was my quick show, guys. Sorry, everybody. We're speaking with bigger voices. So I'm going to pass it to Teresa, and Teresa's going to go ahead and give her a Chico Shokai.
Hi everyone, I'm Teresa. I am the design lead at Zyco. I was a 5-year jet in Tokyo. I've never moved, and I'm still here with my husband now. I'm very excited to be here with you guys today.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jacqui. I was working at JET, 2013 to 2015. I was in the smallest town in Hiroshima, a town of 5,000 people. It was called Akiotacho. After my time there, I pretty quickly went back to the States momentarily, then found a job in Tokyo, and have been working in the gaming industry on games such as Fortnite, World of Tanks, Square Enix, and currently I've adjusted away from gaming industry and into zipper and fashion at YKK. Quite a big transition. So nice to meet you guys, and I'll pass it off to Treat.
Thanks, Jacqui. My name is Treat. I was a CIR in Yamagata from 2022 to 24. And then I went back to the States for graduate school and then found a job here in the government world, public policy, analyzing public policy at a government relations firm here in Tokyo, GR Japan. Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you so much for our three panelists to join. So right now it's April, and I'm sure some of you have already contacted your BOEs to say you're going to be finishing your program. Maybe some of you are thinking about it in the future. I wanted to ask the panelists, what was going through your head around this time, March, April? Are you panicking because you're looking for your new job? Do you already have a new job? Kind of walk me through where your mindset was around March, April when you were on JET. We'll start with Teresa, maybe.
Yeah, so I was graduating peak pandemic actually, it's 2020, but I was betting on that 6-year contract, so I was like, this is fine, kind of just like waiting it until I think June. That's when Tokyo officially said we're not giving a 6-year contract, and that was when the tiers started and the plannings and the pens and the calendars came out to really plan out my next steps. I think we're going to talk more about this, but it was basically just kind of betting on one thing before I really went hard on networking. I'll pass it to you so I don't touch it.
Yeah, so as I was finishing up on my second year, I had always had the goal, even before coming to JET, that I wanted to eventually work and live in Japan. And so as I was starting to contact recruiting companies, so getting a bit of a head start on that, like about 3 months before my contract was ending. And I was going to a few job fairs as well, but I didn't find anything. I went back to America for 1 month, and then there I was contacted, and then came back to Tokyo and started my work life there. So I got a bit of I was trying to get more of a head start as I was transitioning to working outside of JET.
Yeah, so I guess I have two parts as well to that. When I was on JET, I was waiting for my graduate school acceptance to come in before I looked for jobs. So it was kind of like a moment of terror in like early March. And then when it came back, I was like, okay, we're good. But then in graduate school, I was probably in the situation where many of you are in now, where it's like, okay, now this is real life and I got to actually find my next opportunity. And so luckily I had someone from a summer job I did introduce me to the current job I have because he knew I got the JLPT. And so he was like, yeah, you're ready to go. I'm like, okay, great. And so with his confidence and my mom's confidence, I applied to my current job, and yeah, and that was May. So it was a lot later than I would have, like, if I were a JET. So I think I applied in the end of May. Mm-hmm. So if I were a JET, that'd be stressful for me. But I guess that's just to say that people find things a lot later as well.
Yeah. I'm just going to add one little tidbit about my story. Around this time, I had just started my new job in April in Kyoto. And as many of you know, your JET contract goes to July. So the conversation about breaking contract had to come up with me and my supervisor. It is not an easy conversation. It is not one that you want to talk about. I have someone from Claire here. But the most important thing that I want to stress is that you need to be in clear communication with your BOE from the start. Do not throw it on them at the very last minute. Hey, I got a new job. I'm leaving in 2 weeks. Totally unprofessional. I talked to my BOE as soon as I was looking for new jobs. I let them know that, hey, there's a potential I could be leaving. It was not the best scenario for them, but I guess the best thing I can say is just be in communication. Let them know as soon as possible, because there are backups in place for someone coming in taking your position, but you need to give them an advance notice to make that happen. So please be professional if you are going to leave your contract, and that's the best advice I can give about that conversation.
I added real quick on that. Yeah, even though I made it sound like it was up in the air too, I did tell them way in advance. So that's probably what made it so scary is I already told them I was leaving. And so, yeah. But yeah, just to emphasize that is really important. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much for that treat.
Yeah.
So no questions so far from the chat, so we're going to go ahead and move forward. I'm going to go with our next question. So the next question here is about what is the hardest part so far about building a life in Japan? And I'm just going to give one anecdote before I pass it on. Because for me, the hardest part that I've had to deal with is my own ego. And I think early on, I thought I have a college degree. I'm not going to be teaching English for the rest of my life. I could be doing so much more. And that actually limited my options early on because I thought I could be doing better than that job, or I'm looking for a career at a better company. And I didn't have the mindset, which I have now, which is to grow, start anywhere, show that I can do the job, get the skills needed to keep climbing. And that very much is in the mindset of an immigrant. And I think that's an important thing that we forget as people in Japan is you hear the word expat, but there's also the word immigrant. And when I think of expat, I think of people who are sent here 3 to 5 years from their cushy job in another country, and they have a very nice life here in Japan. I wasn't that way. Right? I'm trying to make my life here in Japan, so I've taken the immigrant mindset and say, I'm going to start wherever I'm at, I'm going to hustle, and I'm going to grind. And that's what my grandparents did in the United States. And that really drove me to say, you know what? I don't care where I start because the journey is long. So that's my story about what I had to get over is my ego. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on. I think, Teresa, you might have something you want to add to this?
Yeah, that was a really hard time. So I lived in Saitama, even though I was a Tokyo Jet, and I just remember walking amongst the fields, because you can't walk amongst people at that time, just crying. It was really hard to find that next role, especially since my husband is here. He's American, but like he was gonna stay and I was gonna move. But then with the pandemic, it was like I might not see you for like a year to 5 years, whatever the situation is. And then networking to find that next role was like almost non-existent because there were no meetups, right? And so I had to find a way to do it online. Luckily, everybody else is online. And we got over that hurdle, but it was really tough. But it's okay to feel that, of course, and like reach out to other jets. I think that was really important just to understand that other people have gone through this, and then you can as well.
Yeah, great. Jacqui, Treat, do you want to add anything about what was difficult about transitioning to your life here in Japan?
Yeah, go ahead, Treat.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so I was going to bring community into it. There's jobs in Chris cover that really, really well, and I'm very similar in that regard. And then plus community after transitioning to your new place is really hard. And so keeping your community from your current area, keeping in touch with them in a digital way, and then like not relying on them, but just like, asking for help when you can, because especially if they're still in where they're living, you're going to have a far crazier like time moving and getting established, and they'll have time to talk with you and comfort you, and all that. So that's one of the main things I heard when I was talking to friends that have done the direct transition from jet to non-jet is the community just like vanishes and you have to build all fresh as with any opportunity. But yeah, so just keeping in touch with people.
Yeah, and going off of what Treat is saying, I think what we didn't realize, I mean, personally, is that your support on jet is phenomenal. You have everyone supporting you from housing to supporting you getting your paperwork at the city hall. But once you leave the program, you're on your own. And that's a very difficult thing to go through all these documents. So we'll get to some of the resources later, but that was for sure something I had to deal with too is, what are my taxes? Is this a tax? Is this a receipt? Like understanding what's in my mailbox was also a very, very hard thing to understand. So, but anything else before we move on to the next question about difficulties? We have one question that came up. Jessica wants to know, how did you build your community outside of JET when you first moved away? Does anyone want to chime in about this?
I can do it. I created my own community. I started meetups. And I do a lot of events. So if you've heard of Creative Tokyo, that was something I built up. I'm creating a new thing now for designers and other tech professionals. And so if you don't see anything, if you're not invited to anything, invite other people to your event. I think that's super easy, just like something like Chris here. Like this happened because we were invited to do this. So yeah, I want to give you that encouragement to go ahead and make your own community.
Yeah, and just to add off of that, I think a lot of Japanese people will see you as maybe an English teacher, especially if you're saying, "Oh, I'm a JET and I used to be teaching English," and you might not want to be like back into that, pigeonholed into just as an English teacher. So I think that it's really smart to be like looking to make your own communities and looking at your interests and your hobbies as a way to make a community. If you're looking to branch out into having people who have shared interests with you.
Yeah, and then the next step also that I really want to add is don't just keep saying yes to things. Just don't get burned out, obviously, but also don't let yourself get too alone, and just keep saying yes to things, because you'll meet a ton of people. I've accidentally met 2 people that live in my exact neighborhood out of the last 3 people that I've met in Tokyo. And so it's just like, and I met them in the most random places. And so it's, now I have a community in my neighborhood in Tokyo, which by all data statistics is pretty unlikely, I would maybe assume. But yeah, so just keep saying yes to things, because you never know what something will lead to.
Yep, and back to what they're saying here, saying yes to things and going with your hobby. I found my current role basically when I was doing a run event. Someone asked me if I wanted to go to do a run. I said yes. I found a community of people who I was very much connected with about health and fitness, and that landed me my role because it was a community I wanted to be a part of. So definitely say yes to those things. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next question, which is actually about resources. I'm really curious to hear from any of the panelists here, any resources that have been crucial or maybe people don't know about that have actually helped in transitioning to your life in Japan. If anyone wants to take a stab at this one.
Oh, geez. Savage left. Is now the time to talk about housing?
Yeah, we can start with housing.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so my senpai, my predecessor on JET, recommended Aburu, the housing site, and we might hear Sumo as well recommend here too. I have done Able twice now, and just to give you a quick rundown of why I would, and I'm not getting paid by Able today, why I would recommend Aburu is because their online site is super different to navigate, but if you make an appointment with them, if you go in person, bring someone that you know that speaks Japanese, or if you do your best with Japanese, you can give them exact characteristics of what you're looking for in an apartment. And the reason I'm telling this crowd today is because they will honestly upfront tell you that place would probably not accept a foreigner, this will accept a foreigner, this one we could try. And so that was the most helpful for me, because there was no like suspension of doubt. I didn't have to apply to like 20 places and then like pray on my knees every day, and so that was really good for me. In the rural area, I just went into the store in person, but if you're moving from the regional area to an urban area, you could we were talking about this earlier, you could look via train line. So look to the workplace where you're going, figure out how long you want to be living within that workplace, and then search via train line online. And I'm sure Sumo or other sites might have that as well, but
I just want to clarify. Able is ABLE, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, just so all our viewers who are listening.
Aiburu.
Aiburu. You Google Aiburu.
You'll hear the ads online.
Yeah. It's a green logo. So if you're Googling it now, Aiburu.
Yeah. Thank you.
Did you have one agent that you loved, or were they all fantastic?
That's a really good question. They are usually pretty good.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have an agent that I didn't like. Let's say that. So yeah, I interacted with a lot over especially in Tokyo. I had to go to
Strong disagree. Maybe you have a story already.
No. Please share.
So if you haven't done house or apartment shopping in Tokyo, basically I would have like areas that I would want to go see, and I would go to the real estate agent and beforehand I would be like, I want to see these places, and they'd be like, great, come into our office, we'll show you around. So I'd get there, and that's when they would make the call of like, okay, now we'll call and see it. That was my across the board. That was like it didn't matter if it was Sumo or Able. I think it depends on the real estate agent. So then they would be like, "Oh, gaijin wa daijoubu desu ka?" Is the foreigner okay? And so I would have to be like sitting there and be like, "Okay," just watching their reaction or something like that.
That did happen to me as well. Yeah, I did have that on too as well.
Yeah. So you might get a mixed a mixed reception by doing this thing, but they would print out the ones that I wanted to see, but then they would also I want to make sure I'm getting the most out of showing this person a house or apartment, so they would print out extra ones and be like, "We're going to go through all of these and see which one you're like." I don't like any of your candidates. I just want to see the ones that I've picked out. So
I just want to add one follow-up question to what Jacqui's saying. Was it the companies that you were dealing with that said, is a foreigner okay, or is it the company asking the owner of the place you're renting?
The owner, asking the owner.
So I think that's really important to establish, is that it's the owner's consent that probably needs to be had in this situation. It's not necessarily the companies that are keeping. So right.
Yeah, it would just be lovely if they would have checked that before I got to the office, but that's just me. That's just a me thing.
And Teresa, do you want to add anything about your housing situation?
Yeah, so I actually, for Tokyo Jets, we were supposed to find our own housing, so I never needed to kind of go through the motion of finding a new thing after my contract ended. But I do want to plug in Facebook. I know it sounds like a very, very old tool, but there are a lot of older people there who still use Facebook. There are tons of groups, and these groups are super helpful. So there are groups like Jets who do things, so that was very helpful during my pandemic times when I just need support from other Jets going through the same things. There's another one called like Jet Wit. That's also a Jet thing for jobs. And then there's a whole like Tokyo wide thing. I think it's called like Gen or something like that, but the name may have changed. But basically those groups have like thousands of people who are super, super helpful. And if you ask the silliest thing, they will answer you. There are also very specific ones for like moms, right? That is something I'm thinking about. I don't know what it's like to give birth in Japan, but there are other moms here who have those answers who want to help. So please, re-download Facebook, even though there's a lot of things attached to it. But look at these groups because they're so helpful.
So I'm just grabbing coffee for our panelists. Thanks for that. Did you guys want another round?
Don't mind if I do.
They know coffee.
So I'm doing admin work back here as well. So, and my experience with housing is I use Sumo, SUUMO, and I'm not sure if the panelists have already mentioned this, but it's so important to have your criteria already ready. Now, I had this imagination that I'm going to just scroll like Airbnb until I find the right place that I like that hits all my categories. But when you're actually talking to the agents, the best thing you can do is say, "Hey, I'm looking for a place that's 40 square meters. I want one living room, no bedroom is fine. I want to be near this station," because all that information helps them narrow down the options, and it will save you so much time because the websites are not made for scrolling. And I think Treat and I have had a discussion about this. Do you want to briefly mention it?
Yeah. And I was gonna say too, you can even put in more specific options than that. Like I said, a corner room because I wanted like good ventilation. That's also a thing you can put in there, is good ventilation, like good natural flow of air. I said like something like multiple windows. I was pretty demanding, and like they also brought forward a lot of garbage, but I got some good ones too. I want to ask Jacqui real quick, did you ever like email Able, or did you only do, because
I'm starting to doubt that you're not an Able sponsor.
Because what really helped me was when I filled out their like otoyawase form, their like question form online, and they would email me, and then we would communicate via email, which was super strange for me, especially coming from rural areas. That was weird for me. But Tokyo Able, I received a lot of emails, and that's when they could do that like pre-check because I wasn't in Tokyo. So I don't know if that would work for you. I don't know if that's a new thing or email, but yeah, more specific. I don't know. Was there anything else that you wanted to?
We have a question real quick from the audience here.
It's not really a question. It's more of like, I'm also a Tokyo Jet, and
Yeah.
we used Wagaya to find apartments here, and that's also
So I'm gonna say it one more time, Wagaya.
Wagaya.
Yeah, so it's a Tokyo Jet here, just in case people in the audience can't hear. Tokyo Jet has said Wagaya is a resource they've used for housing.
And it was pretty good. I emailed them while I was still in the States, and
Okay.
they helped me find an apartment for my needs, so.
Yeah, so Sarah, who's a current Jet now, is that right? She,
Yes.
while she was in the United States, used Wagaya to help find housing here. And it's because you are not using your Jet housing, you had to find your own housing?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's because she had to find her own housing here, she used Wagaya. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sarah. Any other questions or any comments?
Sure. I'll just to be quick. So sayonara sales, if you are looking for furniture and things like that, because don't be like me. Learn from my mistakes, because I think I slept in an IKEA couch for the first 6 months. I was, but yeah, there's that. There's Mercari. There's that.
The lifesaver,
Yeah.
Mercati, yeah, wow.
Yeah. So learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
There's also Jimoti app. It's like usually free stuff. Yeah, people know about it. Great.
And there's also Carrot with a K, Karrot. It's a much more local, in-person, I guess, selling, but so this is the selling. Facebook Marketplace is great. It's all English based. Mercari, you can get more for your items, but you need to be able to have a back and forth conversation with the buyers. It's a very common thing. They'll ask questions about how many times did you use this thing? Are you able to send it, in the morning time? So it's a communication based selling. It's not just list it, sell it, done, but you will get more for your items.
Definitely.
And someone else just said, Nitori is where I got my furniture. Thank you, Evan. So this is actually a two-part question related to the resources. It's about language, and I'm curious just to go back to the housing bit. I know, Treat, you have a very comfortable, you have a good level of Japanese, but for our panelists, how was the language barrier for you when finding your housing, if any?
I used an English-speaking real estate agent, so that was great. They only showed me properties that foreigners were allowed to. So for the language, it was not there. I think it was called like Real Estate Japan or something. I don't know if they're still running.
Sorry, mine's not interesting. I've moved 3 times. I knew Japanese at that time, so.
Okay.
I was gonna say something similar. Yeah. I wanted to use as local of a site as possible. You know, I just
Smart.
yeah.
Which site was it again?
Let's see. No. But yeah.
Well, I was talking with Treat earlier before this, and one thing we were talking about is that being able to speak Japanese, you will not need it when you're looking for the criteria part, right? I'm looking for this, and this. The part where Japanese is crucial is the contract. So when you see a place you really like, and you're going over the finer details, that's where having someone to support you, if you're not comfortable in Japanese, is so important. That sit down over the contract. And that being said, a guarantor. Maybe this is not a common thing in the country that you're in, but in Japan, it is crucial to have someone. They essentially are signing the paper that says, if anything happens to this place, another person will come in and pay for the remaining rent or the contract. And this is important because it can be a foreigner in Japan, it can be a Japanese person, but you just need to have someone in your life that is willing to take on that responsibility. Okay. Anything else? Go ahead. Yes.
Do you have any tips for finding guarantors? Because I've been talking with my current Board of Education about what we're going to do with my apartment afterwards, and they brought up the need that they need to switch away from being the guarantor, and I need to find another one.
Okay, so the question is about tips for how to find a guarantor in Japan. So I will tell my story first, and if you want to add anything, I had a neighbor I was really great friends with. That was essentially my onagai shimasu was, hey, I'm moving to a new place. Would you feel comfortable being my guarantor? And he said yes. It wasn't even like a negotiation. He was happy to do it. So again, this is back to building your network, and maybe we'll talk about it later, but where you currently are, you also have a network and a community. So don't forget that these people are there to support you as well. So I had my local neighbor do it, and I believe there are companies that actually will be your guarantor in that sense. So
yeah, so I use a guarantor company. They call GTN, and yeah, some people, they're thoughts about them. But regardless, I think how I first dealt with them, they were part of that agency that I was in. And then you pay, I think, 1 month for like upfront, and then every year it's like 18 yen. They also have a credit card, so that's pretty good if people still can't get credit cards in Japan. And so I was able to get a credit card through them as well. And my husband, who was not able to get a credit card with anything, he got a credit card from them. So they're pretty good benefits, I would say, for the price if you don't have friends like me.
Same thing with Able or Sumo. You can checklist that in, like if you need a guarantor or not. Mine was built in, so it was just built into my contract. So all I have to worry about is paying the 10,000 yen a year to the guarantor, which is great.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Network. Sorry, I don't have that much to add to this, but mine was actually a foreigner. My guarantor. Yeah, I was super shocked. I moved in a rush, and so they were like, "Who's your guarantor?" I was like, "Is this British guy okay?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Awesome." I don't think they contacted him, but they just wanted a name down. Yeah, so I got lucky. But yeah, network.
Right.
Yeah.
And does that answer your question?
I think so. So it sounds like, it's a little bit more casual than I was imagining it. You can ask a friend and if they're okay with that.
Casual, but make sure you understand what you're asking of them.
Yeah, signing
More
up.
responsibilities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my other resource tip before we move on is I personally am learning Japanese still. And in Tokyo, I found there's a free resource from the city. If you research JCA, I live in Setagaya Ward. It's on the Shibuya side if you're not familiar. And they had basically free Japanese classes. It's not a lesson-based class. I would say you're basically partnered with someone who's of older age, the Koreisha, and they are basically retired people who have some free time in their life. But I use that as a way to study Japanese, have conversations. I would bring my textbook and I would let them know, hey, I'm studying for JLPT. Would you be able to kind of walk me through some of these dialogues, essentially? And the service was great. It's free. It was hosted by the city in different community centers in Tokyo. And I just lived in Setagaya, so I went to maybe 3 or 4 different locations. So if you research JCA, like Japanese language, there is support there. And yeah, for someone who's learning, it was really great for me. It was saved me a lot of money. So.
Can I add on to that? I'm
Yes.
so sorry. I also, wherever you're living, whatever ward you're living in, if you type in the name of whereabouts you live in, like Volunteer Nihongo Kyoshitsu, that, there's probably, Japan is really starting to try and have more volunteer classes to learn Japanese. So that's probably good to look into. And also, there's online stuff like Haitaki or Reply. I used those when I was actually writing my resume in Japanese because that was something I really didn't want to mess up. So I found a tutor who would help me, who was specifically like, I will help you write your resumes. So that was also helpful for me.
And just gonna reiterate what Jacqui said here. So at your local city hall, the volunteer kyoshitsu, is that right?
Kyoshitsu, yeah.
Volunteer kyoshitsu, if you look that up. iTalki was another one you mentioned.
Yes.
And that's a paid service where you can pay someone to help you with tutoring.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last service was
I think it's High Native.
High Native.
I can maybe put it in the chat later or something. I'd have to look it up. But if you just look up like Japanese lessons online, I would recommend looking for tutors online who advertise that, and that's something that was pretty easy to find for me.
Yes, I've used iTalki as well, and yes, you can find professional tutors, not for language, but looking over your resume, presentations. So there are different types of tutors on iTalki.
Quick question, is that online or in person? iTalki?
That's on.
Online, yes. iTalki is a website online. Tree, do you want to add anything up?
Yeah, I mean, it's non-internet resource, but your local International Relations Association could go by a different name, International Relations Center. I used to work there. They don't pay me anymore, so I'm saying this because I want to. But yeah, they will know because they have to deal with foreigners. That's what they're wanting to do. So they'll have all the resources ready for you, and they may have Japanese classes also. So yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Ben.
On the note of Japanese, there's a question: what JLPT level would you approximately say is useful to have for finding houses, networking, shop hunting in Japan?
if I can chime in, there is one, we have Takaichi-san recently in Japan government. And so they are, I believe they're raising the requirement on the International Services and Humanities visa to be N2.
Yeah.
So that is something to consider. I think it depends on the size of the firm. It's gotten kind of complicated. I think it depends on the size of the firm, but you will need to have N2 if you want that, if you require that visa. So that's something to consider. But just to get around in conversational Japanese, I'd say N3 is around a good level, a good-ish level to, like, I'd say the minimum level of house searching and getting around Japan. For interviewing, if you're interviewing in Japanese, N2 to N1-ish level is starting to be a good spot for you.
No? Teresa, do you want to add anything to this about the language level for JLPT?
No, that was it. I didn't know about the whole visa requirement, but I mean, I want to say, like, there are English-speaking agencies out there, so don't worry. I'm house searching later on, and there are specifically agencies speaking only English, so I can share that afterwards. I'm not paid as well.
And I'm not either.
But I have a lot of recruiter friends, and just be aware the requirement has been kind of going up for jobs. It's like we say N2, but when you're having conversation, it is almost like you kind of need an N1. You just have to be very smooth. Not saying every role's out there like that, but just be aware.
And
So a side note from Claire, but we do offer a JLPT subsidy for current jets. So I know clients who is wanting to take it one more time before they finish the program.
Yes, I use that. It's great.
Me personally. But consider maybe taking it in the summer before you finish the program.
so I'm going to just say it one more time for the audience. Aya from Claire has said that Claire actually offers a subsidy for JLPT for current jets, and she recommends anyone who's interested to take it in the summertime. So thank you so much, Aya, for your share. Any other last bits of advice or resources you want to share? Or the resources question.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say I use that subsidy. So I tried to use it and failed once, and then I succeeded, and then I was able to use the subsidy. So it's good if you pass the JLPT, and it will be full reimbursement, right? And if you're an ALT, what's the levels again that it covers?
I actually don't recall the details. I'm sorry about
Go ahead, Sarah.
So N3, N2, and 1 are ALT will cover, and CIR I think is maybe a little bit more strict. So it's maybe N2 or N1 only. So yeah, but it was great, and because it's getting more expensive, I think. So yeah, helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really gonna say really quick too. Also, I think it's Category 3, Category 4 businesses for the visa are now N2. So when you're applying, if it's a smaller company, then you may run into a requirement for N2 when you get the visa renewed. So yeah.
I think some people might be leaving Japan because they don't have the N2. Yeah. So Japanese language is important.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Teresa, do you want to say something?
Yes, we forgot to mention Hello Work. You guys have worked here, you have paid taxes, hopefully. So you guys can get unemployment. So just go to Hello Work, go through the paperwork. Depending on the length you've worked, you can get some sort of benefits back. It does take a little bit of time in terms of like the money actually going to your bank, but definitely use it. They also help with job search.
Yep, and this is I've used Hello Work as well when I quit my job. Unemployment is great. I used to think, I'm not poor, but hey, having money to help you transition to a new job is super helpful. And I believe, from my experience, they covered 3 months of my pay, but it didn't come immediately. So, but the key here is that go to the City Hall for support. Go to Hello Work. Tell them your situation. They will guide you through what's needed, because you will need paperwork from your former employer. You'll need to explain kind of what your situation is. So, yeah, I would say Hello Work is a great resource as well.
Chris, or guys, what's the period that you can stay in Japan when you don't have a job on a visa? Like, does anyone know? Is that something to worry about till the end of the visa? Oh, that's great. Okay. And then when your visa is about to expire, it's the expiry date, right?
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And back to the visa, I'll just briefly mention, if you've applied for a visa, you can actually stay past that visa date as long as you're in submission, right? So yeah, that's super important. It's not like, oh, I gotta leave by this day. As long as you get your paperwork in, and make sure you confirm when you turn in your paperwork that, hey, is it okay if I stay past this date? Yes, question. No,
You also put a stamp on your residence card.
Exactly. So they'll put a stamp on your residence card so that you're in a way in process. So very important. Yeah, another question from the audience.
Is it the same? I think it's also the same way for job searching. You can do it before job searching as well.
Yes, so there's a job search period or visa you can apply for as well. I'm not sure the duration, but it is possible to be here on a job search visa when your job finishes. And I think a lot of people here maybe had experience with that.
I think that one's 6 months.
Okay, 6 months.
And also, just a asterisk on how long you can stay with your job searching, but have a visa. If you have an international humanities or international services and humanities visa, is they say you have 3 months to find your next position. But as long as, like, apparently immigration is so over capacity that they probably won't contact you, but the rule is you have to at least show that you are still job searching to them.
That's where Hello Work comes in.
Yes.
Yeah. And when this is really into the weeds, but once you have finished your role, you have to notify immigration that you have finished that contract. And once you have joined a contract or a company, you have to also notify them again within 14 days. I don't know how, if you guys want PR, this might be a point thingy for that application. My lawyer has not said that it has affected anybody yet, but I feel like with the government right now, it might become an issue. So I'm scared.
Getting unemployment may also be a factor.
What?
Yeah, going to hell work. So yeah, sorry, we're getting very
Lots of red tape.
Really quick, Teresa, what was the process for notifying immigration?
It's online, so it's great. I forget the name because they actually changed their system, and of course the URL changed, all the data changed. Not great UX as a designer thoughts. Anyway, you just make an account and then you put in all that information in. They might require you to use like the lowercase whatever, like what are those letters called? The higher, you know what I'm saying? The fat.
Halfway?
Yes, thank you. The halfway thing.
Yeah.
It's really annoying, but you can ask ChatGPT to just convert it for you, and then you can input it. So it's very easy.
And the half width that Teresa is talking about is just the input of the characters into the text box.
Yeah.
Japanese characters, English characters, they are very finicky. So look it up when you're inputting things. You know, that might be what's stopping you from going to the next page. We're all good? Okay, so the next question I'm going to skip to another one is because a lot of people have been asking jobs. I want to know, how did you land your first job after JET? I think Teresa has a good story. Jacqui, you might have a good story to tell because you were in the US, I think.
Yeah, so I knew that I wanted to stay and work in Japan, and I had started to network 3 months before my contract was ending. I was reaching out to some agencies, and I was just not getting hits. And I also went to one job fair in Tokyo, and just nobody, it was so many people, and just getting in lines to try and get an application, it just was a no-go. So I was getting on the train back and just crying, I'll never come back to Japan, I'll never live here, I'll never work here again. And so I'm heading on my flight back, and pretty much as soon as I'm a week back into USA, I'm getting a call from a recruiter saying, hey, we're interested in you. This is for the game company. Are you interested in applying with them? I'm like, yep, let's do it. And 2 weeks later, I'm heading back to Tokyo. So don't lose hope if, the job market is, everywhere in the world is tough right now, but you guys can do it. So in Japan, the best way to job search is recruiters. Mm-hmm. I think that I've had a few companies I've worked at this point now, and I'd say 80% of them was recruitment, and that's the general way I've heard that people have gotten positions in Japan. They'll help you interview if you pester the recruiters if you pester the recruits, Robert Walters.
West,
yeah.
There's so many bilingual recruiting companies out there.
Yeah, so they'll help you prepare. Another, just something you should be aware about is like they are a company they are using you guys or anybody who applies through them as their money makers. So if you have an interview and then they ask you, so how did you do? Like, what did they ask you? Be aware that they might take that information and be like, hey, they probably aren't going to make it through. So I want to let you know how to get past. So just be aware of the recruiters as well, but also like use them for help. But it's a balance.
And then Teresa, do you want to chime in about how you landed your first job, Teresa?
Yeah, sure. My first job was out of desperation and also I was quite privileged to be able to do this because I told my first company like, hey, I'm a jet, so technically I cannot get any income, though you can get permission for that. And I said, so I want to be an intern, but do not pay me. I want to just learn as much as I can and help you as much as I can. And of course, that idea of like a free worker really was a commodity for them. And so I was able to get an internship, and that internship role eventually became my full-time job. But I do understand that comes from a lot of privilege, not be able to get any sort of income from that. So just FYI, what I do want to say is like go to these meetups and really share that. Don't think you're a jet. Be like, I am a designer if that is what you want to be, and I'm just looking for a new job. Like I'm looking for a new role, doing this, like a junior role, of course. And don't even bring in the fact where you're coming from the jet. Even though, like, if you've met a jet, then that's excellent. But if you're going into a new industry, don't bring that up because there is a slight stigma. And go forward. And my new role is the recruitment as a recruiter, and I was able to transition really quickly thanks to them. So keep your LinkedIn updated. Do not use that green sign that says open to work. And there's a little bit of stigma there, but you can secretly put it into your profile so recruiters can see it that you are open to work. But don't let other people see it because it comes off a little desperate. I know it's just the雰囲気 of it.
Thank you. That's great advice. And Tree, did you want to share your story?
That was really good. that was great. Yeah. So to echo what Jacqui was saying, don't lose hope and rely on your connections and keep networking and keep pushing. And yeah, what Teresa said was really valuable too about emphasize your skills. And so I was thinking the exact same. I didn't know how to say that, but there is a stigma around jet. So if there's any way you can say what you're doing currently, but in a different way that is more appealable to someone that has like no idea of who you are, then do that. Like say, I'm living in rural Japan right now and I'm working on a lot of projects by myself or something like that. Like, emphasize your skills and then try and work in your current life if you can. But but currently, how I got this job was totally unexpected. I was in a very similar situation. I was like online for months, just like on LinkedIn jobs and on other job things. And like I was going through recruiters also, and all the pings were like, I'm not liking this. And then, I did like a summer like international exchange program. And then I met that person that I talked about earlier, who he just knew like that one shred of my background that I spoke Japanese, and he was like, you would like this. And he literally just showed me his phone screen like that, and the job was on there like that. I was like, where'd you find this? And he was like, LinkedIn. And I was like, I've been on LinkedIn for months. Like, what have I been doing wrong? And now I see it on LinkedIn all the time, of course, now that I have the job, but it's like, I don't know. Just so even the algorithm can sometimes mess you up. So also play around with that and use AI too now. Like, I don't know if AI was good enough when I was doing that. It could have been, but I just missed it. But definitely use AI to play around with the keywords that you're searching for and the places you're looking also. So people and also AI sometimes. So
Great. Thank you so much for your stories. I just want to add one more thing about the network, because if you're currently on JET and you maybe don't understand the impact of how a network can play into your job, just remember that the people you're talking to, they might get offers all the time for the role that they're in, but they might be enjoying their job, so they say no to a lot of things. That is why having a network is so important, because if you let your network know, hey, I'm Chris, I'm currently looking for a job in brand management. If you know of anything, let me know. That one bit of information you share with your network can be, oh, Chris, something just came up for this brand that I know. He is perfect. Let me send it to Chris. because that's your network working for you. But if you don't go out and tell people what you want, they're not going to know anything about you because, oh, this person's on Jet and yeah, they teach English. That's all I know about them. So what Teresa is saying is show them what you want to be doing, as well as, not just what you're doing now, because that way people have that impression in their mind of who you are and how they can help you. So thank you so much for that. We're going to go on to the next question, which is, go ahead, with that. Sarah, yes.
Tips for creating your Japanese resume, because I've been working on it and I used AI for it, but I was told by people that if you use too much AI, it's obviously not you. So I was wondering if you have any resources or tips for that.
Yeah, you want to?
Yeah, I as much as possible, I wrote out I wrote out my resume, and then I would have it checked by a native on italki. Yeah. That's the way to get it more natural and to like get advice about it. The certain tutor that I picked, they were advertising. We help you work on Japanese resumes. So.
Yeah. Do recruit agents also do that?
Yeah. Recruitment.
Also, right?
Yeah.
Like
They'll also take a look at your resume.
Let them know your things, and they go, "Here you go." And
yeah.
some of them. Yeah.
So yes.
Some of them. Yeah. And have it checked by someone that knows Japanese. Yeah. Have it checked by a Japanese person if you can. Yeah.
Too, but they said like, oh, a lot of people are using AI, so it's okay. And I thought, but I don't know. This seems like it's not written by me. Thank you.
So, okay, the next question is just about advice. What do you wish someone had told you if you are currently on Jet, or maybe just advice in general? Just if you have anything you'd like to share.
I'll start because of my 10 years here. Please always keep your receipts. You can either photocopy them or keep it in a folder, especially if you are going to apply for PR or anything. City Hall, I don't know why, sometimes locks your information after 3 years. My city is 3 years. Other cities are like 5 years. And so you can't get it. And if you need to apply for something, it's not reachable to you, even though it's technically in City Hall. And sometimes you have to prove that you have paid your taxes, and that information is super, super critical. So save everything. You never know what's going to happen. Save everything.
Really quick add-on. Save your business cards that you get from people. I didn't realize how important those were until I moved industries. And I was like, oh my God, if I had kept at least photocopies or pictures of all those business cards. So there's a great service, I think it's called 8. There's a service online where you can register all your business cards and it'll save them for you, and you just have to have an account that you keep active. And so I would highly recommend keeping that going because it'll serve you wonders.
Question from the audience.
Situations did you find those business cards useful for?
So the question is about how are the business cards useful? Yeah, go ahead.
Just when you're at work and someone says, oh, we need to do this, this, and this, and you have to contact a certain company or a certain business or a certain government person, and you're like, oh man, I met someone from that company like a year, 2 years ago at this dinner by the side of the river, and I was drinking because it was a public holiday, lightly because that's the culture, and I was like, when the heck am I ever going to meet this random person in this random industry ever again? And then 3 years later, you go, oh, okay, there you go. So at least keep pictures of who you meet. Yeah.
A lot of Japanese people I know, I thought, oh, they're going to take the card and keep it forever because it's the Japanese etiquette. They're like, I throw it away, but I have an app.
Exactly. Exactly.
Apparently, a lot of Japanese people use apps.
Yeah.
Trey, you said the app was 8?
I think it's called 8, or it has the word 8 in it. I'm so sorry. My superior uses it at work, and it is 8, right? Okay, good. Yeah, 8. I think it's called 8. And if you put 8 Meishi or 8 business card, it should come up online.
Thank you so
Another
much.
question in the audience here.
So another quick question about business cards in general.
Yeah.
Did you guys have business cards when it came to job posting, and what service did you go go about to make those business cards? Or
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, okay. So the question is about the original question was how are these Japanese business cards useful? And that's what Trina answered. And then the next question is from the audience is do you have a personal business card when you go out to these events? So
I don't think you need one as a jet because nobody's going to be like, wow, jet. Like, oh, it's jet. I think you just need to have resumes if you're going to physical events. Like that's what they're going to want from people who are looking for their next step in their career.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm gonna actually fire back and say I think you should have a business card to be in these networking events to be taken seriously during that exchange. To not say, "Oh, sorry, I don't have my business card on me," versus, "Oh, here is my business card. I'm a designer." It costs maybe 1,000 yen to get a print of like 100 business cards, and Canva can help you with your business cards. But just that moment is so important to be taken seriously that you have your business card ready. So I'd say invest in it.
The real quick, I just want to continue what you're saying. The business card thing. I had business cards as a CR because I was at City Hall. But if I didn't, what I would do would be to create one with like interests or my future career label on it, and say like, oh, I'm looking for a new opportunity or something, and list your current contact information. That way, you are taken seriously, because that was really valid. Like, you wouldn't put JALT on a business card. People go, okay. So I would say, yeah, it's similar to verbal. Whatever you would say verbally about your career, put it on a business card, I would say, and just have a few. And then there's an app for that too. Yeah, Canva would work. I feel like you could ask your schools, if you're ALTs, hey, can I get business cards from this school? Or can I at least print my business cards here? Do you have business card paper? Because they all have business cards.
But if that's not the case, you can use Mojito Design.
There you go.
That's what I have to use for my work. It's kind of annoying, but
Mojito Design?
Yeah.
Mojito Design. Okay.
Okay, there's more questions.
Sarah?
Business card, if you're like still debating what kind of route you want to go on, would you recommend like putting your board of education instead of JET, or like
Well,
exactly
is the question what to put on for your like the company?
Yeah.
Well, it could be a personal card, which you don't need to have any company. You could just have, hey, this is how you can reach me. But I think back to everyone's point here is what's the next industry you want to be in? Maybe that's the best way to put your like next leg forward. So when they look at it, oh, this is Sarah. She wants to get into international trade. That's really helpful for the person. One more question from the audience.
I was just going to say, if you're not sure to put in business card, you can have a QR code that leads to your LinkedIn page.
That's really good.
Like less creepy than having like a LinkedIn.com business card. Yeah. And then also if you Google card, CARRD, like you can make a really fast one-page website, and I think it's like super cheap or even free to make.
Okay.
So then you can just update that website with like whatever your kind of group.
All right, just to reiterate what the audience member has said is put a QR code that leads to your LinkedIn, or there's even something called Linktree, which has all of your socials, or there's a website called CARRD card. It helps you build a quick one-page, is it a resume or just a...
It's a website for like whatever, but it's just really easy to make. And again, I think it's either free or really cheap.
Okay, so CARRD is a one-pager for yourself. We're just going to go to our last question before we're taking last questions from the audience and online is, what's your next step? I think that's kind of, we're all in a place where we're trying to build our life here. What's next for you? Anyone would like to answer?
I'm trying to put a little bit more permanent roots. I was talking about PR, having permanent residency. I applied for that last month. I'm trying to find a house, and so I'm trying to get PR to get a mortgage and find a place. And I'm talking to English-speaking real estate agents for that. So it is all possible. And yeah, I'm hiring at my company for a designer role. So that's another thing. I'm growing my career there if you're either interested in design.
And what's the name of your company?
Oh, it's Psycho. You don't pay for that.
Yeah, same here. I'm probably, going to retire in Japan. So that I think I'm going to be applying for PR. That'll be my next step. And I don't know, just getting more involved in the community overall as a personal goal, like maybe looking at volunteer opportunities. And I'm doing, mostly what I've been doing is very hobby based. Is that how I've been meeting people? But, I think I'd like to be more giving back to the community. So.
That's inspiring. Yes. Same. Yeah, same. So almost the same. Look at doing PR in the next few years here. And then just continuing my career that I've built up until now. But then additionally, I'm inspired by some of my coworkers. I'm trying to make the most of my personal time. So I feel like that's what's been missing in my life up until now. And so not only just personal, but with other people. So like you're saying, community-based hobbies, giving back to the community, making connections through community. That's what I'm trying going forward. Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for me to answer, the next thing that I'm working on is our next installment of Horizons 2. It's actually all about jobs in Japan. So there's so many questions that came up about getting started in your job in Japan. So next weekend, Saturday, there'll be plenty of opportunity. You'll hear from 3 people. I think Brett Hustis, Krista Ishii, and I think Takeshi is his name from Quick USA. And Jennifer Butler. They're going to be talking about jobs in Japan. But my next step is very similar to everyone here. My first 10 years are all about building my life in Japan. That meant job, finding a partner. I now have a family, so I have a wife and I just have a newborn daughter. We have a place in Tokyo, but the next 10 years is all about, as people have said, giving back. And that's why JET is so important to me, is I have something that I can help other people with, and I want to do that as best as possible. So that's it for what's next for me, and I'm wondering if there's anything else before we move on. Oh, sorry, and ER, as Teresa mentioned, is permanent residency for people who weren't sure online. Is that good? All right, so we can take more questions from either online or in people here in person.
We have a couple questions kind of from online.
Okay.
One is, are people generally hired in April? And in your experience, how have companies been in terms of flexibility with start dates? Because JET contracts typically go until August.
So the question is, are people generally hired in April? And then what's the last part of that then?
Are companies more flexible with start dates for JETs, given that their contracts go until...
Are companies, are they flexible with JETs because the contract ends in July is the question.
Yeah.
We have one follow-up from the crowd
I
as
have
well.
an addendum to that because that's basically part of my question. Do you have any tips for bridging the gap between when we end JET in August to April, when things like graduate schools and many jobs do start?
Okay, so the comment from the crowd is, how do you bridge the gap between when you end your contract in August and to when things start in April? Do anyone want to answer this question?
The answer is yes, in terms of more jobs do open up in April. Fiscal year ends, and so the roles tend to open and close, but generally the numbers go higher. Anastasia can probably answer because she's a recruiter there. But that is the general look that me and my other professional friends have seen. In terms of flexibility of timeline though, that depends on your company. So for my company, I was like, hey, I have a 1 month notice. I also have 1 month that I'm going back to the States for my wedding. But they were very flexible. So if your company is flexible, that's a great sign. If they are a little bit harder, maybe that depends on what you want to do. But it really does depend on the company for the flexibility of that, I would say.
I've been very lucky. I think most of the companies I've worked for did not have you must start at this point. So I think Japanese companies in general are flexible on that aspect.
Yeah, I was just going to add, that was really good that you said that, because I was going to say, from what I've seen online, it's usually new grads or recent grad jobs that hire en masse pretty well in advance are usually April start. But the jobs that I've been looking for are all pretty flexible, like Jacqui said. And everyone I know has either, I shouldn't say that. I should say, please communicate with your supervisor if you are planning to break contract.
Yeah.
Do not surprise them, because I know a lot of people that have found a really good opportunity and then just be like, oh my God, I gotta go. And they just go. And everyone goes, whoa, what happened to that person? And so, I know more people than not that have found an opportunity mid-year and done that. But I was going to say real quick to answer your question. Yeah, bridging the gap. I know someone that did that. What they did was they pre-communicated their job. They were going to leave early. And then they said, I'm going to do grad school. And they pretty much kept open communication every step of the way. So when they got into grad school in Japan, they told them when they were applying. Before that, they told them. And so I think what their job did was they asked for an early departure jet, which would come right after you leave in April. And so I believe that would be the ideal situation, is to just keep communicating with your supervisors so they don't get shocked and they can make preparations to, fill your void, is what I would say.
And I just want to add one disclaimer for everything we mentioned, particularly about visas. We are not experts about visas.
True.
Yeah. So take what we are saying, knowing you're going to do your research after. Because we are not lawyers. We do not know this by hard. So yeah, we're just giving friendly advice. Ben, is there any other questions you want to fire off? There's one here about work culture.
Yeah, I guess the one main thing about visas is check with immigration. Immigration is kind of the best place to go.
It's very true. Going to immigration, because Teresa talked about permanent residency. What I didn't know when I applied was there are multiple routes you can go for permanent residency, right? There's the 10 years, there's a spousal route, there's even if you don't have the 10 years, but you make a high income, you can still apply. So the different routes, the point system. So there's just different ways you can go, which the website, as tricky as it is, all the information is there. So yeah, any other questions?
Yeah, one other question from chat is how would you navigate finding a job other than teaching if you don't have much experience aside from JET and your undergrad degree?
So navigating a non-English teaching job if you don't have the experience is the question.
Finding one, yeah.
Anything? I think Teresa mentioned a bit about basically saying I'd love to do any intern work if possible is one route. Jacqui or Tree, do you have anything else you want to add?
I would say the most successful JET stories I've heard is like they came to JET and they said they had a thought like I want to work in Japan after my contract is up with JET. So they looked at what skills are desired in the Japanese market, and for a lot of people who don't know a lot of Japanese, like programming and software engineering, and those are like highly in demand skills right now in the Japanese market, especially with the population kind of going down. It's Japanese is starting to become more of a must if you don't want, especially if you don't want to work in English, continue working in English teaching. But the primary thing is to have a skill that is in need in the Japanese market. So they go hand in hand nowadays. Like for a long time, they've been double requirement.
Yeah, I would quickly just co-op that. The best success stories I know are people who did things while on JET, like in their free time. So obviously devote everything you have to your current job. And then also when you have free time, devote that to your skills, whatever skills you're liking for whatever comes next. Because if you don't, I think it shows. And if you do, it shows positively, really positively. And so, yeah, everyone I know was doing something, either an internship or their own research or something in their free time that they could look at their next employer or application place and say, this is what I've been doing recently. And then they could go, oh, okay, great. And then they hire you. So, yeah.
Can I expand on that?
Yep.
So before I pivoted into my current role in design, I actually wanted to be in international education. And so for those 5 years, that was what I did. Like I did everything possible related to that. I went, I studied abroad here through CIEE, and I approached them and said, hey, for the summer, I have a lot of time. Can I work for you guys? And I didn't say anything about not getting paid. And so I actually did get paid. And for 2 years, I worked for CIE, and then I worked for CRCC Asia. Very similar sort of programs in order to build up that resume. Because I was like, I'm going to be a study abroad advisor. But the last year, that's when I was like, actually, I don't want to work in that. I want to pivot into design or product management. And that was when I started taking classes online. There are so many classes online, YouTube, LinkedIn Learning. I think it's called Linda now. And they're free, not free, everything. You can learn it online, and that's where you put the skills in. And for designers particularly, I will speak to you guys, have a portfolio. You mentioned Card, right? Yeah, Card. There's also Framer. There are free plans. Use it, create it, put it up, and really, really position yourself. This is where branding comes in. You have to brand yourself as a designer or put yourself in that role and say that that's what you are. And my friend who's a coach likes to say, look in the mirror and say, I am a designer. You have to say that in order to get over that hump that you are just coming in fresh into this country and you cannot get a job. And you can do it while you're crying. It's okay, because that's what I did, and you'll get through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very great advice. We have a couple more questions. We have about 5 more minutes left to answer these. I'm going to go through the chat. Or do you have anything, Ben?
Yeah, I was going to go through.
So we'll try to keep it short, but what's the work culture at a non-JET job that you've had? Anything quickly you want to share about the work culture in Japan? It's a big question.
I've worked at both gaishike, foreign-based companies, and Japanese companies. And I will say there is a lot more flexibility with the foreign-based companies, but at the end of the day, there's still Japanese aspects to it. And then I've worked at very Japanese companies. So I found at very Japanese companies that I am doing a lot of the general administration work, even if I am brand marketing. So just be aware of that, because there's also like a digital stamp system and all these like paperworks that you have to go through, a lot of red tape in Japanese companies, and they move much slower. Foreign-based companies work faster and have more flexibility, but you might still run into some Japanese culture things that seem interesting.
Is it Nimawashi?
Yeah.
You want to explain what that term means, Nimawashi?
So, like, you submit some paperwork and they send it around for each stamp, like going up the ladder. And if like, let's say, like halfway through, somebody notices, oh, actually, you missed a decimal point, so it goes right back to you, and then you put in the decimal point, and then it goes back through the system again. It's like, so if somebody takes off that day, that's you're just screwed for getting it up the ladder that day. So. It's that bureaucracy, and you'll see from many aspects like, okay, that's why Japanese companies are kind of slow. Everybody has to be on board, and the devil's in the details with all the paperwork. Even though I'm brand marketing, I'm doing a lot of general administration type stuff as well. Yeah, it comes with the territory, I suppose. Just know what you're signing up for that.
And so we don't have enough time to go through everyone's answers, so I'm going to go to the next question. This is for Teresa. What is permanent residency, or why is it important for you to have permanent residency?
Right. So permanent residency is if you're from the States, like the green card, you have more rights. For example, during COVID was probably the worst example, because even people with PR was not allowed into the country, only citizens. But theoretically, you do have more rights, and you can kind of come in and out. For visas, generally they're 3 to 5 years. For PR, they're 7 years, I believe, for renewal. And you get better mortgage loans. You're kind of treated more like a citizen in Japan when you have PR. And so you're able to kind of have more roots down here.
You don't have to worry about leaving Japan if you lose your job.
Oh, yes, I totally missed that.
Yeah, so that is a very crucial thing to have.
And you're not in a job sector. You're not positioned.
Yeah, you don't have to rely on that job. That's what
yeah.
All right, so the job, like you can leave your job and still be safe to live in Japan. This question is about for moving. How soon should we start selling and getting rid of things? Tree, do you want to just quickly?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I would say, first of all, that I really totally forgot to say earlier, is I was used to in these States looking for housing 6 months plus in advance, or like really in advance, at least 4 to 6 months in advance. And here it's like a month, isn't it? Like at least for like Japanese real estate places, it's like a month to 2 months. You go to them, and I found difficulty going any earlier than that. But for selling and clearing stuff out as soon as possible is what I would say. Like, oh my goodness, no matter how early I start, every time I move, the day I move, I'm like, what? Where did the stuff come from? Who am I? Like, you suddenly discover your closet was full, and it's just like, wow. So I don't know.
Well, do you want to quickly say about hard off that?
Oh my gosh, this is hard off. Yeah, oh my gosh. If you don't have a Japanese driver's license, I would encourage you to get a Japanese driver's license. If you have a Japanese driver's license, hard off, the secondhand store will, if you have furniture big enough and you can show them a picture of your furniture that's big enough that they want to buy from you, they'll let you borrow their van.
Oh.
And so you can borrow the hard off van, drive it to your house, load it up with all the stuff you think you can sell at hard off, which I would say is everything except for old electronics, as in like heaters. Anything that's electronic, that's older than I think 5 or 10 years, they won't take. But anything else they'll take. So save like one big item of furniture that you think hard off, and check with them in advance maybe. And then all they need is that one ticket, and they'll let you borrow their van, and you can like load it up and just drive it hard off. And yeah, that's what I did.
I think they all have some kind of discrimination against IKEA furniture, though. Just so
it's good to know.
Yeah,
I've also heard moving companies can't do IKEA furniture.
Yes,
That's what I've heard. So. Heard that recently, so I'm screwed. But
Do you want to add something, Teresa, before moving on?
So Daigomi, use your city big, large furniture. Was it
Oversized.
Yes, oversized. Yeah.
And sometimes they like limit to once a week, which I don't understand. So you want to do it as soon as possible, just like get rid of it, or 7 out of sales. But there's also there are companies that will come to your apartment and just take everything. You have to pay them, of course, but that is the easiest way, especially if you have a day job.
Okay, thank you so much. And did anyone change their citizenship is another question.
Gotta get PR first.
Yep. So no one here has changed their citizenship, at least from the panel up here. Last question here is, are you aware of people who stayed in education after JET? Perfect. Part 3 of Horizons. In 2 weeks, we'll cover a career in academia. So please follow that. If you're curious, potentially we have
More getting a master's.
getting a master's, but I know a lot of people who got their master's at Temple and then continue their career in academia, so that'll be a great place to ask those questions. We just 1 minute over time, so any last bits, please fire away. Yep, anything from the crowd? Okay, just want to be conscious of everyone's time. Thank you for chiming in.
15 minutes left.
Oh, 15. Okay, so I was rushing to get this done at 10:15.
Children.
Okay, so I have no more questions, so. So I was misinformed. I thought I was finishing at 10:15 with questions.
Oh, we have a question.
Yeah.
I guess since we have more time, yeah. So I know for JET, like as an ALT, at least in Tokyo, we work 16 days a month. And I was wondering how that transition was for you once you started working a different job, because my biggest concern with living here is, for example, not having enough time to go visit my family anymore and things like that, because I found on JET, we get a lot of flexibility, but how has it been like moving into different fields and different types of work?
Yeah, I could answer. I have a good one for this too. So, yeah, because JET, you have this long period of summer vacation and spring vacation. I had even more my next job after JET. I had all summer. I had like 4 months off of vacation at the university level. Like I was a university lecturer, so I got paid during that time. Yeah, that's part of the great, I guess, benefits of being in academia. But when you work I work for an international company that's follows Japanese labor laws. So UQ, or like your paid time off, is very important to schedule with your manager way in advance. What that means is, hey, I'd like to take a vacation, and these are the days off that I'd like to take. And it's all about coordinating the weekends, your UQ, and also national holidays. Because you can't take 2 weeks off with only using 5 days of UQ, if you will. So it takes a lot of coordination. But in order to visit your family in a foreign country, I take 2 weeks off at a time every year to go visit my family in the United States. And I still have leftover days to carry every year. So it's just about, instead of here's my summer off, versus, hey, I want to go visit my family, so I'm going to prepare in advance how I'm going to do that. So, yeah, that's my quick or long story for that.
A really quick question to the folks up here. Do you find that the amount of UQ, the amount of days off that you get allotted, is different based on Gaishike, foreign companies, and
Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
Yeah,
I wanted to clarify that.
20.
Yeah, exactly. So I have pretty good right now as well, because I'm not Gaishike, but we're pretty Gaishike, like vibes Gaishike. so we're pretty well taken care of. Same situation. You have to ask in advance, get checked. But I've heard a lot of horror stories about, not horror stories, but like, oh geez, kind of impression about local companies. And so I just want to clarify that. Like, that's real, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm also like Gaishike vibes, so I do want to give a hint, but I don't think it applies to all companies. But this tip is that if you do overtime, you can take Daikyu, unless you have overtime hours kind of baked into your contract. So I like to kind of use my Daikyu, UQ, holiday sort of situation to kind of just push it into make it like a 3-week into a month situation, and yeah, I know.
And Daikyu is accumulated holiday.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you worked on the weekend or something,
Exactly.
Yeah, so you don't get paid for that time. They'll basically give you that day to use as a day off in the future. Yeah, that's what Daikyu is referring to here. Jacqui, do you want to add anything else about this since we have some time?
Oh yeah, so I mean, I've worked at both Gaishike, or I've worked at both foreign-based companies and Japanese-based companies. The 10 and 20 thing is real. But I would say even Japanese companies, I think, I mean, maybe it depends on your coworkers and your bosses, but they're like, you definitely want to go home, right? I mean, you're in Japan all the time, so not like in a go away from me kind of not that kind of thing. It's more like, oh, you definitely want to see your family, right? So a lot of times people will ask me, do you want to go home? Like, please take your vacation. Yeah, I'm
really nice.
So not
really
scary
quick.
Japanese company. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to add real quick before we moved on that On Jet, I was a 5-minute bike away from my workplace, and it was 35 hours a week as CIR. And that may be a lot to a 4-day-a-week person, but then you get to 40 hours a week, and you're living an hour one way from your workplace plus. And your time goes. And so I don't know if this is a relatable experience, but my whole weekdays are now work, which wasn't a thing on Jet. And so, yeah, just being ready for that. I don't know. Yeah. And then your free time becomes a lot more precious. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Yep, go ahead.
I have a question for Jacqui. It's very long-winded, so I'm sorry to ask. But you said earlier that you had a lot of work experience in the gaming industry. And I'm really fascinated by that, and I'd love to hear more about the work you did there. What kind of skills from Jet were you able to kind of utilize in that? And also what made you kind of pivot away from the gaming industry?
Let me just read. So the question is towards Jacqui about her experience in the gaming industry. What skills were applied from Jet to the gaming industry, and what was the industry work like for you?
That's a very good question. Thank you. So yeah, I was working as a Jet in Hiroshima. I was working for 10 schools. Yes, and I had a driver's license, and I was working from preschoolers to middle school third year. And I was driving to 10 schools throughout the week. So I think what I learned from that, what my biggest takeaway that was unique to my experience was like time management and being creative, and understanding different people's styles. Had to work with a lot of different teachers that had to understand a lot of different students' needs. And from that, my background is in marketing. So I graduated from a top 100 business school for USA. So I was able to mix both of those experiences together for a marketing position starting in Tokyo. My first position was at a more like game software. They made games as well, but it was more like game software. And I was working for an international team. So they needed English and Japanese skills, and then also understanding marketing and being creative and looking at solutions creatively, understanding a lot of different personalities, which is very important for any position going forward. But then I transitioned to a career in public relations for a while with World of Tanks and for Fortnite, and for Square Enix. So I was doing PR and marketing. And so as I was working there, I was bringing my Japanese skill. I was writing PR in both Japanese and English. So understanding the differences, because Japanese press releases and the way you talk to the media is much more formal. I was writing press releases for Fortnite, and like, this character is debuting on March 7th or something like that. But in the English release, it's like, new character coming out soon, kind of like very, very different. Like I had Japanese media say to me, please don't write in the English, this English style. It's just not how we do things. So yeah, it was much more formal based and understanding those differences. And so recently, why I have transitioned away from the gaming industry is maybe some of you have seen in the news that lots of layoffs and things like that are happening, even with profitable games. And at this point in my career, I'm looking for something stable, and in an environment that's a bit more not so like male bro, or something that's a bit more positive energy, I think, is what I'm looking for in my career right now. So yes, that is the full answer. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah. I don't know how much this will apply to you, but as someone with like a low level of N2, and as someone who just flunked his interview yesterday,
probably got it.
Do you have any experience or any knowledge of like Japanese language schools, like more intensive language schools?
Oh, I do. In Yokohama. There is, yes, is it Aya?
Yes.
Yes, so I don't remember the name. Do you remember it?
IUC, we will have a representative who went to IUC at part 3
Okay, so
Three probably is best.
let me say it to the crowd here online. So the question was about language schools in Japan, and then Teresa mentioned one in Yokohama called IUC International or Inter University
Intercultural.
IUC, which will be discussed in part 3 in more detail. Yeah, so sorry for people who are in part 3. But yeah, they're going to talk in more detail. Someone will be representing that program in part 3 about the language program there. Anything else about language program?
If you need like direct, like right now I need to practice an interview again, like the italki stuff is a good way to like get that and practice it fast. If even if you go to a language school, they might be like, well, you might just be in a classroom and just be kind of passive listening. So you just if you're wanting practice, you might want just something more direct.
Some schools that have like a special relationship with the JET program, so give discounts to JET alumni. So I would definitely look into opportunities like that as well.
Can you say the beginning part? Which programs or?
Yeah, sorry, I don't have a list right off the top of my head, but definitely look into it. Yeah, there are multiple schools that do have special deals with the JET program. So look into that as well.
What's that?
Part 3.
Part 3, yeah. So what I was just saying to us is that make sure to look out for the Japanese language programs if there is a JET program discount or a special pricing. So be on the lookout for that. Is this related to the same question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who would like to ask?
All right. So would you say that language school is a good and viable opportunity for bridging that kind of August to April gap, or do they usually go in like year-long things?
Just the gap to stay in Japan?
Yeah, to like get into the April recruitment season.
Oh, I would not go to school just to have that gap. I would immediately start job hunting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you want your name out there and you want to practice with interviews. Because even though there are, yes, a higher amount of roles in April, there are still roles else, whatever time as well.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
And changing the visa and everything would be, it's not a nightmare.
Yeah, recruiter.
For the jobs, I can cover later a little bit about the jobs because I would definitely say maybe April is actually not one of the best times to search for the job. And it's better because especially I can understand from you guys that you're all mid-career searchers. So usually you should orient into when the company pay bonus to the employees, and usually that's the time that they leave. And that's when the companies are looking. So it's usually the end of the year or depending on the fiscal year of the company. And sometimes August is actually one of the best. Right now, I want to say one of the worst timing because a lot of people, especially hiring managers, they're already almost checked out to go to the Golden Week. That's right. Yeah, it's good.
Let me just say this out loud because no one's on the line to be able to hear this. We actually have someone from Flux, the company that we're having this event at. She is very familiar with the recruiting industry. She has mentioned that actually this time is a very difficult time for recruiters because they're already checked out for Golden Week. This is Golden Week is in early May, if you remember. So not a great time to work with the hiring managers. And for the people who are here in person, Anastasia will be able to discuss more about that and also about what Flux does. Sorry for everyone online, but yes.
Just to reiterate, yeah, that's really important. Look for jobs now. Do it. Do not wait for the fiscal year because I've seen so many good jobs that hire every month of the year except for now maybe. But so many jobs are out there. So don't hold back.
Okay, that's 10:30. Oh, sorry. Another question?
If it's okay, afterwards I may ask you which italki tutors you used because I took into and almost passed, but because of the kanji I couldn't. But I passed the listening and reading.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. I think I still have them on my note.
Okay. I think that's it. I do have one last bit of advice that I always tell myself, which is mark your own milestones because our happiness, at least personally, it's so tied into gratitude. But if you're not taking the time to, in a way, celebrate your wins, you will never be satisfied. You will always be looking for the next thing. And if you don't celebrate that, have someone in your life that does celebrate that for you. Whether it's your family, whether it's your partner, take the moments that are big and small and take the time to celebrate that. And that will lead to better happiness overall. So that's my last bit of advice.
Yep.
No? All right, I think that's it for us here in Tokyo. Sayonara. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Wow, that was super enlightening to listen to. I want to thank you again to all of our wonderful JET alum speakers. I love how honest and authentic this conversation was. Thank you to all of you for joining us online. I think we did a pretty great job for our first hybrid event. And I'm sure that tonight's conversation really offered some helpful insight into what it can really look like to make Japan your home, and do it without all that JET support that all of us have enjoyed in the past. So I know there were a lot of questions about jobs and questions about higher ed. So we hope that you'll join us for part 2, which is next Friday evening here in the States and Saturday morning in Japan, April 17th and 18th, respectively, same time. That session is going to be completely focused on job hunting in Japan. We've got 3 amazing speakers and a very experienced moderator, so it's going to be a really insightful conversation. And then we're going to have part 3, which will take place the following Friday in the States, so April 24th, and then the following Saturday in Japan, so April 25th in Japan, exact same time. And that session is going to explore like pursuing a master's degree at a higher education institution in Japan, and then how to leverage that towards a career based in Japan. Something that might be relevant for those of you in this audience that are working on your Japanese language skills, because I know that that came up a lot tonight. I want to let you know that US JETAA also hosts a monthly reading group. So every month we've got a group of folks that get online, they go through a Japanese reading line by line and talk about it. And we also have a quarterly Japanese language coaching session. And actually this quarter's language coaching session is on April 24th and April 25th. So it's actually going to be overlapping the Horizons Part 3. But we hold those once a quarter. We also have a Nihongo Network Discord server, and that's going to be opening up to everybody within the next week. So you can keep your eyes open for that. We'll make an announcement. But that's a space for Japanese language learners to just exchange resources and tips and all that kind of stuff online. So I want to thank JETAA Tokyo again for their partnership on part 1 of this series and the rest of the series. I want to thank all of our JET alum speakers for joining. We really appreciate it. And I hope to see all of you for part 2 again next week, and hopefully part 3 the week after that. So thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening, depending on where you are. Thanks so much, everyone.